We all know that Elle Woods type of woman, a straight up boss who doesn't stop for the world, but the world stops for her. We not only want to look up to these confident, intelligent, fear tackling kinds of women, we want to become one ourselves.
And that's what we're trying to achieve every week at Insert Verb here, sharing our passions, opportunity, and experiences to give you the tools and motivation to become her. Documenting the journey we're on to become the best versions of ourselves. The journey of becoming a strong and powerful woman. Yeah, she's notoriously like one of the most picky people I know.
Yeah. And so the goal of the pillars is to categorize things that you can't live without. And I've learned to not put a time limit on those things. So I used to be like, I have to know now what that looks like. Hi, Jordan.
Hello. Say, I'm having a good day. Look, I'm color coordinated.
I am color coordinated though.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't even try. It was honestly a completely unintentional. And then I put this on and I put the watch on and I was like, oh, that kind of matches. That was the only thing that was intentional. And then we were coming back and we had our smoothies and I was like, oh, my smoothie's the same color as my outfit.
And then she took out her iPad.
And I took out my iPad and it's also the same color, which is honestly completely unintentional. Not even trying.
She's aesthetically pleasing today.
I don't try, but I do try very hard. Because aesthetics are the only thing I care about in my life. I care about them so much.
That's a pillar of your life?
Yes, Jordan.
What a segue.
Wow. Yeah, actually,
today we're talking about the pillars of your life that make the foundation of your life.
Yeah, we'll get into my pillars later, but aesthetics aren't necessarily my own pillar. It's just kind of something that's important to me, and it runs through all of my pillars.
Ooh.
Fair. Yeah, so we're talking about pillars of life today, which is something kind of that Zane and I came up with to help me define my own principles in life and kind of I don't know, just figure it's helped me a lot to kind of give myself some direction and build some foundation in my life. And so, yeah, that's what we're talking about today.
So building the pillars of your life is something very important that I don't think many people talk about. Everyone has things that are important to them that build the foundation of who they are.
Yeah.
Powerful people or successful people, whether it's in their relationships, in their careers, whatever aspect of their life, definitely have strong pillars and foundations. How do you think these powerful people or successful people created their pillars that led them to where they are now?
Yeah. So I feel like, you look at these powerful women, these powerful people, and you see where they are now. You never see the journey they took and where they come from.
Right. You think they just woke up and they're like, oh,
exactly.
I'm Bill Gates.
And like you said, whatever. Not many people talk about that,
No.
but all these people that, the Bill Gates of the world, they had to build these pillars of their lives and work their way up to where they are now. And so, and I was thinking through this concept, and powerful women usually build themselves based along principles. And so kind of the reason this whole kind of happened and we created this kind of system, I guess, I don't know what to call it. I was actually talking to my brother, who, being the strong, powerful woman he is, Hayden, the strong, powerful woman he is, we had a conversation about his life and where he wants to go, and he was kind of missing this foundation and trying to figure that out for himself. And I was telling him that because he was saying he always goes for the big picture, and I talked about that in my purpose episode as well, about looking I want to be a firefighter, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be whatever it is. I do not so much today. Yeah. I want to be whatever it is. Obviously those aren't my examples, but just very general things. When I was doing things like that, I ended up falling. I would constantly feel disappointed because I never felt like I had a strong foundation.
The house
in my
would
life.
collapse.
Yeah, the house would collapse, exactly. And so for me, so like I said, Zane and I developed this idea of these pillars of life to kind of build that foundation for myself about what is the most important to me, and building my foundation to be at that point. And so it's not that I'm looking at the whole big picture anymore and going, why am I falling short? I'm going, I have to build this from the ground up. And so finding those things in my life that are so important to me that I can't live without. And so that's kind of where the whole thing started. And that's where I think this is the same thing that I believe that all these powerful people that you look up to had to go through at some point too, and so I'm just kind of on the beginning of my journey to get to the point where they are. And so I think that's that for me.
So what led you to figure out what your pillars are for your life?
Yeah. So I guess that kind of goes into like there's kind of three main things to keep in mind through this. And so the goal of the pillars is to categorize things that you can't live without. It's not necessarily like things that you love. Like I was telling you earlier, my husband, I was talking to him yesterday about this, and he was like, our dog Fox, we love him with all of our hearts, and we'd be sad if he was gone, but he's not a necessity in our life. And so it's finding those things not only that you like and enjoy, but that you cannot live without. Like, obviously he's a dog. He's going to be gone one day, and we are going to miss him so much, but he's not a necessity in our lives. He's just something that adds to it. And so the idea of the pillars is, like you said, we're building this foundation so that we can have all these things that are so important to us we can't live without, and then you add those extra bits of happiness on top after the point. And so that's kind of the first one. And then the second one is to look for the gaps in your life. So if you have a gap in your life, you're either missing a pillar that is important to you, or you have something that you think is a core pillar that isn't. And so if you're feeling these gaps in your life, it's kind of like a reminder, like, oh, or not a
where
reminder.
You're not paying attention to that pillar.
Yeah, or you're not paying attention to the pillar. Like, something I've been doing recently is, like, I have my pillars, and there's a couple that I've been neglecting for whatever reason it is, just not making it a priority, and that's kind of contributed to this. I've been feeling kind of sad recently and having a rough time recently, and I was sitting down like, why am I feeling this way? And I realized that all of those pillars that I just haven't been focusing on them. And then the third one is that the key to this idea of the pillars is that they are not a choice. They are not things that you choose to have in your life. Like we said, like a dog. Like maybe for somebody else, it might be. Like you might need to always have a dog and like a companion in your life. For us personally, we don't. And so it's like, it's not a choice. They are necessities. One pillar of my life, or a part of one of the pillars, is that I need to eat healthy. I feel the best when I eat healthy. But something else for me that is a core part of who I am is that I also need to enjoy what I'm eating. I'm not the person like my dad. He's been on a diet and like done really, really well and like looks the best he has in a long time. And he's been eating only chicken and spinach like for like 3 meals a day, every single day. And I'm not that way. For me, I have to enjoy the food I'm eating. And it's like, my life would be so much easier if I just didn't care. If I could just eat spinach and chicken for the rest of my life would be
she's notoriously like one of the most picky people I know too.
Yeah.
You and another friend of mine are maybe tied. Yeah.
Like, and that's how I am with everybody. Like, I'm notoriously like the pickiest person in everyone's life. And like, that's just how I am. Like, my life would be so much easier if I could just, if I wasn't picky. To put this in
perspective, I know people hate when vegans talk about being a vegan, but I'm a vegan and I have more food options than Haley does.
Yeah. Like we were doing,
and we live in Texas.
Yeah.
And I still have more options for food.
Yeah. My life would be so much easier if I wasn't picky and it would just eat whatever, even if it was like the blandest food of all time. But it's a necessity for me and a core of who I am to eat food that I like and enjoy food that I like. And so that's kind of how one of the ways that I shaped one of the pillars of my life is that is a core that I can't get rid of in my life. That's kind of what I keep in mind. This also really kind of goes a little bit into what we talked about with both our Enneagram and the purpose episode as well. It's about finding the things that are fundamentally important to you in your life, which is kind of what we talked about with the Enneagram, and then same thing with the purpose. I just kind of think it's kind of between those two, I would say. Like this is the Enneagram is very detailed. Look at our Enneagram episode, which you can go back and listen to. So the Enneagram was about getting really specific with the goals and habits in your life, whereas we were talking about purpose a couple weeks ago, and that was, which you can also listen to, which was about finding the overall purpose in your life and like kind of my journey with that. Because obviously if there's something, you have to make a decision between two things and one fits your pillars and one doesn't. The idea is you follow your pillars because those are the cores of who you are and the things that you can't
build your foundation.
Live without. It's just kind of figuring out what your pillars are for yourself after that point. So
what are your pillars?
Wow.
You want to share?
Yeah, I do want to share. So I think the thing, so you can kind of really have as many pillars as you need. I really don't think that there's like a minimum.
I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I have 5. So, although I will say,
I think some of mine overlap though.
Yeah, some of mine are, and I think it's you. These will adjust and change. Like one of these pillars, which I'll get to at the end. One of these pillars wasn't even important to me until like this year. Whereas like some of them,
was it me?
Yes, it was you.
I'm a pillar.
Yeah, the first one I'm about to talk about in a minute, like has been important to me for as long as I can remember, like since I was a child. Whereas some of these later ones only became important to me in these last like 2 or 3 months. Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be times like you may add pillars. I don't think you'll really take out pillars because, like you said, it's really you could.
Maybe if you grow and
I think it depends on how much you grow too. Because, like I said, there's pillars in here that I've wanted for as long as I can remember. Mm-hmm. So I think there's not really like a limit on how many pillars you can have. But for me, I personally have 5. And so my first one is my home/social pillar. And so that's about like creating a space that is a complete aesthetic representation of who I am now, and then having a solid core of friends and family and people that I love that I can bring into that space. And like, because like I said, it's about representing myself authentically and aesthetically. And so bringing people that I love and like care about into a space that's like a representation of who I am. And so that's my first pillar, and it's a really big core to me. And like I've always said too, like, because I'm a social person and I'm an extrovert, but I consider myself an extroverted homebody. Mm-hmm. I want a ton of people to be around me in my space. I'm not the kind. I'm not going to go out and go to a bar or go clubbing. Like that's just not.
Well, you best not right now.
Well, not right now, but just in general. Yeah. Like, I think I've been to a club twice in my entire life. Like, I don't think I've been more than that. Like, it's just not.
It's not who you are.
It's not who you are. It's not what I enjoy. But I love like hosting and being around tons of people and having them, bringing them into my space and hosting them and like in my home. I love that. Like I wish I could do it. Obviously we can't right now, but I wish I could do it. I wish I could do it right now, like so badly. And so the second one, I say it's, so the second pillar for me is health, but I say it's inner/outer health, because for me they're separate. And so inner health is obviously like eating good, taking care of my body, like exercising, mental health, all that kind of stuff. Outer health is like how I feel about my body, like feeling good and how I look, because that's really important to me. Like I've learned that when I feel good about my body, I'm so much happier than when I don't. Like that's just like just physically. I've just always been that way. And so it's just, I've learned that that's a core part of who I am. My third one is relationship time, and just having one-on-one time with Zane where we can really just like focus on each other, spend time together. That's a big one for me. Mm-hmm. Like I really need relationship time, like every day. I would spend 24/7 with him if I could. Like, and not even just like in a, I have to, or like I can't function without him. I just like, that's just how I am. Like, he's my best friend. I want to be with him at all times. So it's like, if we're not together, it's like, oh yeah, it's life. That's just what happens. But if I had a choice, like the beginning of quarantine, best time of my life, because we just had 3 straight months of only each other. It was great. And so my relationship time was
that pillar was strong during quarantine.
Strong. And then when we came out of quarantine, it was not quite so strong, because we were trying to figure it out. How relationship time goes after, like, post-quarantine. That was a rough one. But we're good. And so the last 2 for me, I'm still kind of working on developing for different reasons. So the first one is family. And, like, I said, this is kind of still developing. And this was not something that was even important to me until, like, 2 or 3 months ago. Like, both, like, my family, like my parents, and specifically my grandparents, because it's like they're getting older, and like you know, Zane and I want to move, and we don't want to be here. But I always feel guilty because I don't, like, my grandparents are getting older, my family, like my parents are getting older. Well, they're not that old, but like, you know,
mine are.
People age. That's what happens. And so I almost feel like guilty that like I'm leaving, and so that, and like it wasn't even important to me till like 2 months ago. It really until quarantine, and I didn't see them, and I was like, oh wait.
You're like, wait, no, come back.
I'm like, wait, no, I miss you all.
Yeah.
So that, and then also like we really want kids, and like I never thought I would care ever. Like my whole life I was like, I'm never gonna have kids, everything's good, we're all like whatever, like I just don't want any. And then now I think about it every single day. It's a problem, Jordan.
Yeah, I've seen the whole progression.
It's bad.
Like even a couple months ago she was like, I'm not having kids.
No.
And then she was like, I'll have kids but I don't want to be pregnant, but maybe I don't want kids, like, and she would flip-flop. And then like a couple months ago she was like, had baby fever. It's not going away.
No, it lasted for like 4 months and it's still here and I think about it every day. Anywho, all that to say, it's like, and so it's something that I realize is really important to me, but it's also a work in progress because it is not the time for us to have kids right now, like at all. Like, and as much as I wish it was, it's not, and I know that, and I've had to just learn.
That's good to know.
I've had to learn to, I'm working on accepting that fact, even though I think about it every single day. And then also, like I said, we want to adopt, which is a very long process and a very expensive process. Yes. And so, like I said, not the right time, but I've realized that it is important to me. And so I'm working on figuring out what that pillar looks like for me now because it's a necessity that I can't necessarily have right now. And so that's one of the two I'm working on. And then the other one I'm working on is my career. And so we're working on this one because obviously on paper it's like, oh yeah, it's a career. That's something you're kind of always working on, but more in the sense of like, I don't know why I want it. I've kind of had this weird thing where it's like, on paper, it doesn't make sense. Like saying, when we were talking through this, like, he was like, we know a career is important to you, but why? And I was like, I don't know. Because on paper, everything that I care about seems like I should just be an artist. And like, just like, I should create for the sake of creating and the love of like creative expression and all that kind of stuff. But I don't care. Like, I can't just do it because I enjoy creating stuff. I have to do it for like a reason, and it really doesn't make sense, and we cannot figure out why it's important to me. I realized how much happier I am when I am working than when I wasn't, And so
because it gives you purpose and meaning. Yeah.
And so, like I said, I'm developing that one because I don't know why it's a necessity. I just know that it is. And I also don't know, because the other ones, it's like, oh, I know with my home and my social, I know that it is a necessity. I know why it's a necessity, and I know in what ways I want to manifest that in my life. Like for me, like I said, my home space is important, and so something it's been one of my goals for my entire life is building a house. Like that, like building my house has been so important to me for so long. And Zane was saying like, yeah, well, we can find a house and we can renovate it to what you want and just slowly work at it over time. And I was like, no, I want it to be perfect from the very beginning. Like, I want it to be that perfect representation of who I am. And he goes, does that mean it never changes? And I was like, no, because it's a perfect representation of who I am at that point. That doesn't mean it won't change in 5 years, but that's how I want to manifest that. But like with like my career or with family, I don't know. And so I'm still developing those and I'm still working on those. And so there's things in my life that I'm like, I know this is important, but I don't know why. And so that's something I'm still kind of continually
going through the growth process.
Going through the growth process, like and I've learned to not put a time limit on those things, because I used to like be like, I have to know now what that looks like, but I've kind of come to the point where it's like, it's going to develop, it's going to change, like things are going to look different in 3 months, things are going to look different in 5 years. And so it's really just about figuring out what's important to me and just using that to make myself happy. And so that's kind of all mine. And I know I asked you to kind of come up with yours and think through yours, which is, because Zane and I have been talking about this for a long time. This is kind of your first experience with it. So I'm interested to see kind of what pillars you have, and then if we can kind of develop those a little bit further as well.
Okay. My handy dandy notebook. I wrote, again, I didn't rank these or anything. I just wrote them down as they came to me. The first thing I said is to find meaning in life, like outside of myself. I think it's really important to me to find connections with other people and other things in the world, and that may kind of sound like hippy dippy to be like, oh, I have a connection with this tree, or like, whatever, like, oh, the wind or whatever. But I feel like it just helps you have a deeper understanding of the world and others outside of yourself. It may inspire you, it may humble you, it may make you feel more grateful. So I think finding meaning in life outside of myself is something very important to me. And it'll help you with connections and other people. Yeah. I don't know, I think it's important for everyone to kind of do that. And then I wrote also like inner growth.
Yeah.
Moving forward. And with the first one, finding meaning in life, also that goes along with like a sense of adventure, never losing a sense of adventure, learning or chances to learn and wander.
So one of your pillars would be like meaning and adventure. Like that's important to you.
Yeah.
Like exploration.
Yeah, exploration. And then the second one is like growth, learning from the good, the bad, the ugly. And then I wrote becoming more resilient, more compassionate, setting boundaries, finding your limits, just growth.
So like just like a self-betterment kind of thing.
And then I wrote social or family and social relationships. I kind of like you. I used to think like it wasn't really that important to me. Growing up, I thought I was a completely independent person. I thought I would be completely fine by myself my whole life. Like I would like whatever. I was like I'm a loner and that's fine and I don't care. Like people can come and go in my life. That's whatever. But as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that that's not truly who I am, that it's okay to surround, and I want to surround myself with people who I love and who love me, and learning to ask for help isn't a sign of weakness.
Yeah. That's a big one for you.
That is a big one for me. And so these relationships are important. I want to strengthen them while they're here. Again, or like we talked about in the past, that doesn't mean like a death. It just means people come and go. Yeah. So while that relationship and familial or social relationship is here, strengthen them while they're here, appreciate them. And then my career is one. I wrote that I love accomplishing things, setting goals and achieving them, creating something and being able to share it. That gives me a confidence boost, and that feels like I can do anything if I set my mind to it. Not necessarily putting myself in a box of what I want to do with my career, because I feel like I'm a pretty flexible person, and pretty go with the flow. But in my career, achieving things and setting out goals and being the best in that specific where I am at that point. And then mental health, that kind of goes with the growth one that I already said. I also put nature and animals.
That is so important to you.
That's so important to me. Again, hippy dippy, whatever. But there's the vegan wanting to be in nature. But it's true.
Yeah, it's so true.
I said that it helps me reconnect to myself and my feelings. Being in nature or being with animals helps me think when I need to think. It helps me be quiet when I need to be quiet. So I think when I'm overwhelmed or happy or whatever, being out in nature helps me feel those things and process those things. So especially like working in like an office kind of setting, that was always so hard for me because I would look out the window and be like... So if that does become my life one day, that's fine. But just having that strong pillar of nature. I wrote having a heart.
Oh,
that is a very important pillar to me that I think more people should add to themselves.
Like expand more on that.
Caring, compassion, understanding. I don't think it's talked about enough, truly. Like people are always like, oh, care for one another. But I mean, like, truly have a heart with other people, whether you like, you don't have to agree with them in life on every aspect or whatever, but they're a human being. It's a person. Like, obviously have boundaries for yourself, know what your limits are. But I just think having a heart for other people is something
that's important to you.
Yeah. It's very important to me because people who, it just hurts me when people don't do that.
And that's also how you know that it's a core pillar for yourself. Because like for me, I think that's important. It's something that I strive for in my life, like just in general, but it's not something that I would make a pillar for myself.
Yeah.
It's not something that I feel so strongly towards that I'm like, this is a pillar of my life. It's something I live by because I'm all about like loving other people no matter what, like accepting people who like however you are right now, you're beautiful and loved and accepted. Like that's just how my heart is. But it's not something that I make a pillar. And so I think that's also just more proof that like that is one of your necessities in life.
Yeah.
Because even though we have the same like that's both important to us, for me it's not a pillar, but for you it really is.
Yeah. just I guess understanding kind of goes through a bunch of mine, or trying to understand and see things from other people's perspectives and care about how they're viewing things and not just thinking, oh, this is how I view things, so that's right, and dismiss what other people are going through. That's something that's really important to me. And then this isn't necessarily a pillar, but not necessarily finding happiness, because happiness is an emotion and that's fleeting, but finding meaning and purpose in life, which I guess goes in with my first one. But those are like the big ones. So I guess adventure, meaning, inner growth. So outer growth, like the world, finding meaning in life. Inner growth, family and relationships. Nature, career, and then heart. So six pillars. Yeah. That's good. Oh, and I also said physical health. Yeah. I like working out, eating well. It's kind of like what you said. Yeah. When I'm feeling good, I'm feeling good. Yeah. You know? So I think that's important. So 7. I think those are really good and solid. And so how, like, because obviously those are probably in your brain, but they were never, like, written out. How, like, seeing those on paper, do you think that you could use this idea to kind of move forward with life and figure out, like, oh, I haven't been spending a lot of time with animals and with nature. Right. But I haven't realized that, like, I've been missing that. Do you think that that's something that you can kind of look at this and go, like, oh, this is a reminder of what I want to be doing and where I can start making decisions in my life to have those be more prominent? Yeah, definitely. I think writing them out puts, like, I don't know, like, just literally puts it on paper. Like, it puts it in front of you for you to see. And it's not, because if you know me, you know my memory is awful. Terrible. And one of the good things about me is you can tell me your secret, and I won't tell you. Because you won't remember 5 minutes after it happened. Yeah. So your secret's safe. So I think having this down, because, like, of course I've always been like, oh yeah, I'm a nature person. Oh yeah, like guys care about one another. Like, oh guys, I want to go on an adventure. Like, it was always something like I've wanted, but seeing, I guess, breaking it down and saying, like, oh, it's not just what I want, it's more who I am. And then learning that or seeing that these are things I need to water to become who I want to be, and to help these things grow to become who I want to be for my future. I think that's a really good point about, like, watering the seeds of, like, these things that are important to you. Yeah. And, like, because just because they're there, if you leave them there, they're just going to sit there. Yeah. But if you water those seeds and, like, over time they'll become, like we said, like, you start with the foundation, you build that house, and over time it'll become a strong mansion. A strong home. Wow. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I got. Me too. So I guess let's just go straight into our goals for this week. And so, what are your goals? Does your goal have anything to do with the pillars? Actually? It does, actually. And it kind of, I was thinking about it when I was writing this down, and in the purpose episode, we talked about me wanting to start my own theater company, and how that is a purpose in my life that I'm not actively working towards, but it's what I currently feel like is the purpose of my life. It's what I find meaning in. And after talking about that, I realized I truly miss actively working on my company. Yeah. And it's something that I've just put in the background because I'm like, I don't have time to focus on it. I don't have the means to work on it. I have all these other things going on in my life. I need to focus on what is currently there. And then one day I will be able to work on my dream. Yeah. But after the purpose episode, I was like, maybe not. So my goal for this week is to become more organized, to allow myself to have the time to work on my dream. That doesn't necessarily mean, like, I'm going to get in contact with all these playwrights. I'm going to get in contact with the theater. It means, like, researching more nonprofits to see, like, what I like about each one, what I need to know about nonprofits, learning more about what I want to do, and just finding time to research, finding time to read the books, finding time to teach myself what I need to know. So when I'm actually fully ready to put this into motion, maybe in a couple months, maybe in a couple years, whenever, I'm fully prepared, and then I'm not in that situation going, oh crap, I need to crash course and cram all this stuff in my brain. I'm actively taking the time to learn things now, so I'm prepared for the future. And and like, so that's my goal for the week, like, getting organized. I like, I mentioned earlier with, like, my food, it's really important for me to have food that I love. That's an important part of my core and one of my pillars.
And so, and I love cooking and baking, and I've always loved it. But with my, we talked about my diet a couple weeks ago in our body positivity episode, and like how it is in general. The foods that I love to cook and bake, I can't necessarily have. And so I've been kind of struggling recently with like, I eat the same 3 foods every single day. Like I have eggs in the morning, burrito bowls for lunch, and then a salad for dinner. Mm-hmm. And then I have fruit and vegetables as snacks. And sometimes I get pretzels. And like that's every single day. Mm-hmm. And I'm so bored. Yeah. And so I've really kind of lost, like I'm trying to figure out, like trying to find my love for cooking in these healthy foods that I can eat that are still like healthy, but obviously in my own way. Because like we said before, I'm the pickiest person on the entire planet. Yes. I'm so picky. And so my goal is just to kind of find my love for cooking again, because that is something that's very important to me, and I just haven't been focusing on it. Mm-hmm. And because I'm not excited about the food that I'm eating, a lot of the times I just won't eat. Or I'll just grab string cheese and just not want to make lunch because I don't feel like cooking, because I've lost my love for it. Yeah. And so I think that's my goal, is to find some more things that I can eat within my diet that kind of excite me to reignite start cooking.
That passion.
Yeah. So that's my goal.
Cool.
Yeah. What are your goals?
What are y'all's? Let us know.
As always, you can DM us on Instagram at GotVerb. We also are on Twitter and TikTok
and Facebook.
We're on Pinterest a little.
Oh yeah. We're having some issues with our Pinterest, but
we're there.
We're there.
And then
we'll work it out eventually.
We're on YouTube as well, and you can.
And if you're on YouTube, hello.
Thanks for watching us. You can also always email us at askivhpod@gmail.com, and you can check out our website at verbofficial.com and see everything that we're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's everything.
I think we covered it all.
Oh, and you can also listen to our podcast on everything.
Yeah.
Except for Pandora.
Everything except Pandora. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer.
Just not Pandora, just everywhere else.
Apple or Amazon Music.
Amazon Music.
Yeah. So I hope you guys have a good week. Let us know what your goals are for the week. And what are your pillars in your life? Yeah. And are you strengthening them? Are there any that you feel like you need to focus on? So let us know. Bye guys.
Bye.
Make sure to check us out on social media at GotVerb or at our website verbofficial.com. And send us your questions at askivhpod@gmail.com.
We post new podcast episodes every Monday, so subscribe to Insert Verb here so you can insert verb into your daily routine.